Hey there! Today we're going to make this cute bee animation using Blender. Let's get started. Open Blender, select General, that'll give us a new blank project to start. Using the default cube, we're going to press Ctrl and 2, that'll give us a subdivision surface. Press 1 on the keyboard. That'll give us the front orthographic view. Press the numpad period. That'll quickly zoom us right into our object. Tab in the edit mode. Press Ctrl and R. We're going to do a loop cut. Roll the mouse wheel up 1. That'll give us 2 cuts. And if you press Enter on the keyboard twice, that will give us the default cuts. What you could do if you don't like these locations is press 2 on the keyboard and then press G twice to slide these over, but we don't want that. So, undoing that. Press 3 on the keyboard. This is to face select. We can face select each side. Press S to scale down, just a touch. Right to about there. You can get an idea of what I was going for. With the object selected, come out of edit mode and then press S and X on the keyboard, and we're just going to bring this out just a bit so that it has more of a B shape to it. Right click, shade smooth, tab back in the edit mode. We're going to do couple of things here, but before we do, make sure you press 1 so you know which side of your object you're working with. Press E and enter, scale down, press R and Y, then E to extrude, and S to scale. This is going to be our stinger. Okay, let's tab out of edit mode. Go over here to the modifiers icon. We're going to use the drop down, or you can do Control and A, but we're going to do the drop down and apply the modifier. When we tab back in, this is going to give us more topology to work with. Okay, before we select any cells, what we want to do is add a material, which we're going to call yellow. And then we're going to pick from the base color, just select a nice B color. And it's going to be your model, so pick something that makes you happy. Add a new slot by pressing the plus here. And then we're going to add new material and call this one black. And for this one, for the base color, just slide all the way down. Okay. Select everything by pressing A on the keyboard. Press assign. To see what it looks like, you can press Z and 8. Right, so everything's yellow right now. What we're going to do is add in some black stripes. We're just going to press Alt and click between these lines. Add Shift in to highlight additional sections. Okay, don't worry about the tail, we'll come back to that later. And we can get one more here. So what we want to do is click black and then assign. Okay, and you can see that we start to have some bee-looking properties. Press 1 on the keyboard. Can zoom in, and we want this center vertex on the tail. We're going to press Control and plus on the keyboard. Right there. I like that. Press assign. Press 3 on the keyboard. Press C for circle select. Click the center. I'm just going to highlight all of these cells. Press enter on the keyboard to get out of circle select. Highlight black and then click assign. In vertex mode, what you could do is bring these in just slightly so that it looks more rounded. So we got a nice looking bee body. Press numpad 3, then you're going to click in the center here, Shift A, add a mesh cube, press Ctrl and 2, go to the materials modifier, select yellow, right click, shade smooth. G and X to move this over a bit. Before we start modeling the face, we want to add a mirror modifier. And before we add the mirror modifier, we want to apply this subdivision surface. So apply that. If you don't already have auto mirror as an option, you would see that under Edit in this side menu. If you don't see that, what you can do is go to Edit and Preferences, and then type in auto mirror. If you just type mirror, it'll come up as well. Make sure that this box is ticked, and close the box. Now when you press N, you'll see an edit option and drop down the auto mirror option. In this particular case, we can see the y-axis, and this is the positive side, this is the negative side. So we want Y and positive and then auto mirror. What that does is it automatically slices our model in half. And this is only applied to the object that you're working on. So in our case, it's the head. Okay, press N to collapse that menu. Now what we want to do is add an eye. So press Shift and A, Mesh, UV Sphere, RY90, GX, bring that out some, Scale, G and Y, just to move that over some, then G and Z, bring it up some. You can look at it from the side. We want to bring it back now, G and X, right click, shade smooth. And for this object, we want to mirror this, so add a mirror modifier. And we're mirroring, if you recall, we're on the y-axis, so select the eyedropper and point to the head. And just scale that down just a little bit more. G and Y and S. This is personal preference, however you want your eyes to look. I like mine to look big and cartoony. Let's start with yellow. Tab into edit mode. Press 1 for vertex select, and then as we talked about before, you can press the numpad period to come in as close as possible. So press that. Turn your eye slightly, whatever makes you comfortable here. Press Control and plus just to grab about half of the eye. Let's take a look. No, one down. Okay, so we're going to add to the eye, we're going to add a slot here, and we want for this material to be white. Let's bring the slider all the way up. Press a sign on that. Let's do this again. Let's add another slot, and this time we want to make it whatever color you want the eye to be. So in my case, I want purple. Bring that down. Let's make it a nice sort of purpley color, and press a sign. Then press the eye center vertex one more time. Yep, I like that. And this time we want black. Press / on the keyboard, and then come around to the back side. Select that center vertex, press Control and plus. Now we're going to press Alt and E, and then extrude faces along normals. We want to bring this out slightly. And then press Control and plus one more time. And assign yellow. You can hit Control and minus one time. Press Shift and D. We're just going to duplicate that, and while it's still selected, hit P, and we want to separate by selection. And then tab out of edit mode, and then press /. That'll get us back to the eye. And sphere 1 is going to be the eyelid. We can start naming some of these now. Sphere, this is the eye. Cube 1 is the head. Cube 0 is the body. So body, eye, upper lid, and head. Press M on the keyboard. We want to make a new collection. Collection 2 we want to call B. And just select this collection here. That way new objects will be created in that collection. Let's tab back into the eye for a second. We want to add a couple of loop cuts. So Control and R, and we're going to bring this nice and close to where the white meets the yellow. We also want another loop cut right outside this iris. And then let's come in a little closer on that. Select this entire row, and we want that to be black. Assign black on that. Then let's press 1 to go into vertex mode. Press Control and plus a few times. And we just want to Alt and E, extrude faces along normals. Just a touch. And let's add one more loop cut now. Press Control and R. And we're going to bring this as close as possible to where the white meets the black. Tab out of edit mode. And you shouldn't see any bumps in the white part of the eye. Seeing it from the side view, I want to bring my eye out a little bit more. So G and X. Nope, that's just the eyelid. So eye and eyelid. Let's grab both. G and X. And just bring that out. I want my eyes to stand out. Okay. So just the eyelid this time. RY90. Let's look at it from the front, and we want to SY. Okay. Shift and D to duplicate this. Right mouse click to leave it where it was. RY180. Looking at the model now, we can see that we have some overlap, so let's fix that. Tab into edit mode, press 3 on the keyboard for face select, select the top row, press X to delete faces. We're going to do the same thing on the upper lid. So now what we want is tab into edit mode. Press A on this, and let's press / so we can highlight this eyelid. And that's Alt E, extrude faces along normals, and let's come inside with it, just to give the inside some thickness. Tab out of edit mode, press / and we're going to do the same thing with the bottom. Press A to select everything. Alt E, extrude faces along normals, and just bring this in just a touch. And then / to get back. Now we have some nice closed eyes. Let's just bring this timeline up a bit. With the eyelids as they are, we want to set a keyframe, but before we do that, we want to press for this entire collection. Let's hide the light and everything. Press A because we changed the size of some things. Let's press Control and A, and then set the scale for all of our objects. Okay, so now we can bring the light back so we can see what we're doing. Eyelid upper, this is eyelid lower. So let me back this out. Eyelid lower. And with the eyelid selected on frame 20, we want to press I and set the location and rotation at 20. Do the same thing for the upper lid. Press I, set the keyframe for location and rotation. Let's go to frame 1. And we want R, Y, and then just move this manually until you're happy with it. And then press the I on the keyboard, set the keyframe for location and rotation. Same thing here. Press R and Y, bring this lid up. And you can leave it slightly exposed. Just looks kind of cute. Then set the keyframe by pressing I, location and rotation. And then for here, for 1, we want to press Shift and D and then drag this over to 30. Let's bring this one over to 15. Okay, and let's select the upper lid now. Bring this one over to 15 and Shift and D, bring this one over to 30. So now, if we scroll through, we can see our object blink. Okay. We have some minor sizing issue here where it's bleeding through. What you can do is press S and Y and just bring that out a tiny bit more so you don't see the white bleeding through. So S and Y. It's important to look at your model from all sides. So like there. Now we don't see anything bleeding through. Okay. Let's Shift and A, add a mesh cube. Control and 2 to add a subdivision surface. Press S to scale down. Select the nose, go to the materials, and press black. Right-click, shade smooth. Select the head and tab into edit mode. Press 3 on the keyboard, then C to circle select. Enter to get out of circle select. X, remove faces. So you can see we have a nice mouth. Press 2 on the keyboard, press Alt and select the entire mouth. Then turn it so you can see. E to extrude in, S to scale, E, S to scale, and then F to complete that face. So we can see it a little bit better. You can always move the light down. Just press G, and you can see we have a nice smiling bee. To make the face a little less rigid, the smile's pretty rigid right now, we can add another subdivision surface, and this one just needs to be a 1. So we have a pretty nice smile for our bee. Let's press Shift and A. We're going to add a mesh cube. Control and 2. S and Z this time. We want to bring this nice and flat. S. And then this is going to be the little bee tongue. Yes, and Z a little bit. Bring that back up for some thickness. And tab, Control and R. Enter, leave that loop cut where it is. And G and X just to bring that slightly rounded. Tab, G and X. Bring this entire thing back. And right click Shade Smooth, as well as we want to press Control and A to set the scale. I can't remember if we do that on the nose, so set the scale on that too. For this one we want to add a new color. Go to the materials properties. So let's add new. Select the color of like a light pink. And we'll call this one pink. And that's going to be the little bee tongue. I personally come back in here and select the entire loop, G and Z, just to kind of frame that a little better, less blocky. Alright, so now we have a nice, pretty darn cute bee so far. Alright, let's bring this light back up. G and Z. Shift and right mouse click to snap that cursor. Shift and A. Select the mesh cylinder. And before moving anywhere, change the vertices to 16. Then scale the cylinder. Okay, we're going to bring this back some, G and X. That's good. Okay. Tab into edit mode, 3 to face select. E to extrude. Press Z to stay on the Z axis. E to extrude again. And E to extrude one more time. E to extrude one more time. And what we can do is press O to Alt, select this middle edge, G, and then move the mouse wheel to control the area of influence. So we're going to do G and X just to make sure it's on the X axis. And give that a slight curve. Tab out of edit mode, R and Y. Yep, bring that forward slightly. That looks good. Right click, shade smooth, and tab back in edit mode. Shift and A. We're going to add a icosphere. Scale this down. Oh, you know what? We still got proportional editing on. So, nope. Scale this down, G and Z. Right. Shade smooth. And let's set this material to black. We want R and X slightly. And we want to add a mirror modifier. So select this, add a mirror modifier. Change the axis from X to Y and use the eyedropper to select the head. You can move this over, G and Y. Okay. And let me see. So, on frame 1, don't forget Control and A, set the scale because we had modified the scale. And then on frame 1, let's press I to set location and rotation. And we don't want it to match the eyes completely, so we'll do this around frame 10. R and Y, and just bring these down slightly. Make sure, yeah, that's good. And then I, set the location and rotation, and then box select this keyframe, Shift and D, and we'll put that on 20. So now the antenna move at a different rate, but the eyes and the antenna are animated. Don't forget, save your project frequently. Okay, so we have most of the bee is done. We're going to add some wings. Let's shift and right mouse click on the back about where the wings would be. Shift and A, add a mesh cube. We're going to one scale everything down, but then we also want to S and Y and bring this in quite a bit. And we can bring this up some, G and Z. And go into tab 3 on the keyboard, S and X, let's bring that out some. E to extrude, I feel like I want to bring it out more. S and X, let's bring it out more. E to extrude, and then E to extrude again, and S to scale that back down. Okay, press the / on your keyboard and select this bottom face. Snap the 3D cursor there. Tab out of edit mode. Now right click, set origin to the center of the 3D cursor. So, come back to frame 1. Let's Control and A, make sure we set that scale, and then I to set the location and rotation. Alright, we're going with 10, frame 10, R and X to bring this wing down. Okay, I to set the location and rotation. Select the wing, shift select the body, press Control and P, set parent, object, keep transform. Deselect, selecting only the wing. Deselect X, select Y, select the eyedropper, select the body. Now, plus we want to move this keyframe, so Shift and D, let's bring this over to 20. So now we have wings that flap. Right click, shade smooth. Tab back in the edit mode. This is going to be personal preference, but I feel like I want this edge to come out some more. S and X. Just to bring the wings out a tiny bit more. Okay. So now pretty much all of our bee is done, and we want to do some housekeeping items here. We want the antenna parented to the head, so select the antenna, then select the head, Control and P, object keep transforms. We want the eyes parented to the head, same thing, select the eye, select the head, Control and P, select the eyelid, upper and lower, and then over here select the eye. So we have all three selected, Control P, object keep transform. Tongue, let's select that, select the head, Control P, keep transform. Nose, same thing, head, Control P, keep transform. What that's doing is when we turn the head now, R and Z, you see that everything moves with the head. Had we not done that, it would not have moved. Save your project. Okay. So down here, just somewhere below the B, doesn't matter where. Shift A, add a mesh plane. S and 30. Okay, nice little area to work with. G and X, we want our B to kind of start at the back. For the plane and the cylinder, we can rename that antenna. Antenna, cube, what was that? What was this cube? Cube 1. Okay, so for the plane, let's press M to create a new collection. I'm going to call this background. Press OK on that. We're going to rename this plane as ground. And we're not going to get too fancy here because it's really about the B. The rest of it was just for fun. Make it like a nice grassy color, whatever works for you. We're also going to take this light here and we're going to turn that into a sun. G and Z, let's bring that up and then bring this strength down to about 100. It's 100, still strong. 50, 40, 30. G. Mm-mm. 10. Yeah, 10 looks good. So, why am I showing you the struggle? Because I think it's important that you realize that you got to play around with everything. It doesn't just happen right off the bat. So we want to come in here to the, just click anywhere in the background, go up to shading, select this object, drop down, choose world, and we want this to be a nice blue color. Go back to the layout tab. So we have kind of a blue background instead of a gray background, which is great. Somewhere over here, That's about right. Shift A, we want to add a mesh. We can do a cylinder, bring this down to 8. GZ, and then scale this. It's going to be the stem of a plant. So tab in the edit mode, 3 to face select. Can zoom out a little bit. E. Give it some randomness. E. And then maybe rotate over here. E. That's a wicked looking plant. Probably too much on that. E. Rotate. E. Okay, so that's good for randomness. GZ. Let's bring that down until it intersects with the ground. Tab back in the edit mode. Select any of these on the side. Shift D, enter, scale. E to extrude, S. Rotate, E to extrude, S to scale. And again, I'm not doing a whole heck of a lot on the plants because it's not about that, it was about the bee. Alright, so same thing, Shift D, scale, E, scale, E, rotate E. Okay, so face select, same thing, Shift D, scale, E, scale, E, scale, E, scale. And then we don't want that top face, so X to remove the faces. And here, some materials. We want a different shade of green. So call this green dark. Dark. And pick a darker green color. Just bring the slider down to make it a little darker. We just want it to be a different shade from the grass. Here, if you select anywhere up top and then press L, as I just did, press L as you hovered over that, then you can press plus to add a material slot. And here, let's add red. And it's going to be like a plant red, so not like a deep red. And press a sign on that. So we have our first plant. Right click, shade smooth. And just scaled that again to make it more proportional to the bee. So Control and A, set the scale on that. Shift and D. We just want another one. R and Z. Let's give that some randomness. R and Z. Yeah, that's better. This top here, let's tab into that, press L, and in this case we want a different color. So let's go with what? Orange. Let's pick an orangey color. That'll be nice. To assign that, you can remove the red because we're not using it from, well, you have to tab out. Then you can remove the red from this plant because we're not using it there. Select this plant. Shift and D. X, Y. G, X. R, Z. tab in edit mode, press L on the keyboard. Let's go with, this will do like the pinkish color. And this time we didn't have to remove the color like we did with the red because red didn't exist. We had to create it. Pink already existed. So we have a nice, little cluster of flowers here. It's pretty. The bees attracted to it. That's why it's coming over. All right, so let me see. We want these two and this one. So let me see here. 7. Shift and D. X. R Z. Shift and D. Y. R Z. Shift and D. X. R Z. Shift and D. X. R Z. Okay, so now this last set here, 1, 2, 3, G, Y. Just for some randomness. I don't think I actually moved it on the Y. G, nope, all 3. 1, Shift, Shift, G, Y. And then here, let's G, X, G, Y. Bring those over for the scene. Okay. So then, okay, we can line this up. So we want to do a little bit more housekeeping here. Hi. All right, so select the antenna. Over here we want to choose Graph Editor, and then hovering over the keyframes we want to press Shift and E, and then we want to use Make Cyclic F modifier. So now that will repeat that movement. Same thing here, select the wings, Shift and E, use Make Cyclic F modifier, and what else did we animate? The eyelids. I gotta clean that up. Alright, so the head, the eye, the eyelids. So select one eyelid at a time. Shift E, make cyclic. Shift E. Got it. So now, if we go back to the timeline and we press enter, those objects move on their own. Okay, and we do want to add one more animation, and that is the little bee should go up and down a bit. So select the head, select the body, Control P, object keep transform, and now the body contains everything. So Shift A, right click, add an empty plain axis, scale that up, 1, G, X, 3, G, Y. Select the body, select the empty, Control and P, object keep transform, Excellent. So now everything is parented to this. One, GZ, up, set a keyframe, location and rotation, 4, GZ, down, set a keyframe, location and rotation. And then select 1, Shift and D, bring that over to 7. And then for all of these, we want to go to the graph editor, Shift E, make cyclic. Okay, and timeline. And what you see, it's a little fast. Okay, so let's bring this over 7 and 14. Now we can hide the empty. Be sure to deselect both boxes, the eye and the camera, which will hide it both as we're looking at it on the screen as well as in render view. Select the head, or Z. Let's have him look over there at some flowers. Set a keyframe, location and rotation. And then 7, 12, maybe 13. RZ, set a keyframe, location, and rotation. So now if we snap back, we can see he's looking at his options. Keyframe. We're going to use the body for this next part. So the last one was 17. We'll come over here to 23. We're going to G and X. And set a keyframe, location and rotation. Let's snap that back, make sure it's working as we want. Snap it all the way back. You know why? Dagnabbit. Because we didn't set a keyframe. G, X, here. We need a keyframe there. Location and rotation. Shift D to about 17. Alright, G and 30. Let's try that. Snap that back. Hmm, 40 maybe. There we go. So that's more subtle. Okay, so where are we? Keyframe 40 was our last. Okay, so we want him to come up, go to about 56. We'll see what that looks like. G and X, G and Z. There we go. Okay, so I, location and rotation. Let's see what that looks like. Good. And so 64 maybe, G and Z, and G and Y, location and rotation, That's probably going to be too fast. So 64, let's move this over, 74. And actually, depends on which flower you want them to check out. I kind of liked the red one. So G and X, G and Z, and then reset that keyframe. Snap that back. Let's take a look. Okay. Digging it. Let's see. All right, so we're to about 85. Do 88 G and Y. Then G and Y a little bit more. So we're going to set a keyframe there. Location and rotation. Now we want the head, not the eyes. G and X. There we go. Set a keyframe. We're going to animate the flower. Okay, so here, eye, location, and rotation. Then so 88 was our last one. Okay, and 94 G and Y, G and Z. Set a keyframe there. Location and rotation, R and X. Set a keyframe there. And our little plant, R. Let's have that come back as though the bee is pushing on it. Eye, location and rotation. Back to the head, 94, 100, R and X. Okay, set a keyframe. 107, R and X. Set a keyframe. This is personal preference. I'm sure there's some magic way that you're supposed to set your keyframes. I like the way it looked, so that's what I'm doing. R and X. And then set a keyframe on that. G and Z. And G and Z. Set a keyframe. Got it. My cat's saying hi. And then R. Let's bring that back up. Set a keyframe. And then here we want our little B, G and X to look up at us with a big old smile. Location and rotation. Back to the beginning because we want to frame up our little bee. Press Ctrl Alt and 0 on the numpad. Then just click anywhere outside the framed box, the camera view, to get out of this view. So if you hit just 0 on the keyboard, we can look through the camera lens as we're working. So I set a keyframe, for the location and rotation. We're going to G and Y and G and X. Set a keyframe, location and rotation. Let's make sure that the camera is moving. And it is. Kind of feel like I want to bring it up some. So G and Z. I like that. Let's reset that keyframe, location and rotation. G and Z here. And that's G and Y. Or just pan over a little bit. So set that keyframe. Let's G and Y some more, G and X. Set that keyframe. G and Y. And set this keyframe. And then somewhere over here, 80. Let's reframe this. Okay, set that keyframe. And let's see what that looks like. So G and Y. Let's reset that keyframe. G and Y, G and X. Let's reset this, set this keyframe. Let's reframe that, G, and set a keyframe there. G and Z, set a keyframe there. I like that one. Reset that keyframe. Okay, so let's go back. Let's see what we got here. Where are we? One. So we'll go to 170. I like the way that looks. But I do want to fix this. Snaps around too fast. I don't like that. G and Y. Let's reset that keyframe. That's better. The real takeaway for me on this project was having multiple animations moving at different speeds and making those continuous. That was something that I had to learn to make this project. It was fun, I had a great time with it, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. We'll see you next time.